Hello, it's Joe. I'm Joe Mather, I'm the executive editor of Crimewatch.
It's time for you to crack cases. This is Crimewatch.
Well, the police are receiving live calls on live cases, and these are really serious events that change people's lives. Crimewatch aims to help the police solve serious, unsolved crimes across the UK.
Hello and welcome to Crimewatch.
Crimewatch transmission night is busy, it's very lively. If you're interested in live television, it's a great example because not only do you have the pressure of producing a television programme, there's an event going on as well.
If you can name him or anyone else in tonight's CCTV.
Without the audience, we wouldn't meet our primary objective, which is to help the police solve serious, unsolved crime. And the work that comes from the audience and the feedback we get from the police after our programmes following Crimewatch appeals is phenomenal. And still, without exception, every show will have really remarkable leads which will come from viewers, which could radically alter the progress of a police investigation, which may have been going on for years, sometimes decades. And that can all change with a single phone call on a Crimewatch transmission. And then between us we work out what we're going to say about each case. But clearly there's often information which the police don't want to reveal during the update programme. So we have to discuss what we will say and what they're happy to say, because at that stage, if they receive a really crucial call, clearly the last thing we want to do is jeopardise their investigation. Crimewatch's relationship with the police is absolutely critical. We couldn't make the programme without them. That relationship has always been critical and remains critical, and we work very closely with them on the reconstructions, on the appeals, on the programme as it transmits. So it's absolutely fundamental to the show. All our reconstructions are based on information from the police, including things like witness statements. So we base everything we do on the closest possible version we have to what actually happened. We don't make things up, we don't invent scenes. So that enables us to know that whatever we're producing is as accurate as it can be. And the more accurate the appeal, the more accurate the reconstruction, the more likely it is that it might trigger a memory in a viewer, or something significant might become apparent to a viewer, and they might pick up the phone and make that crucial call. There's lots of people come together and collaborate to make these reconstructions as accurate as they can be, because there's such a public interest in helping solve some of these cases. The Crimewatch website is an important part of what we offer. All of our appeals go onto the website, and it gives people a second chance to have a look at them, but also Crimewatch is only on the iPlayer for 24 hours, unlike most programmes, because if there's an arrest on any particular appeal within that programme, the whole programme would have to come down. We can't take out parts of that programme off iPlayer, so we have to take the whole thing down. The main concerns with Crimewatch are similar to most factual output or news output, I suppose, that we're concerned about contempt. We don't want to prejudice any forthcoming trial or any proceedings. And of course libel and defamation, we want to be sure that what we're saying about someone is true and as accurate as it can be. So there are lots of checks and balances in place to make sure we don't trip up on any of those things. It's at the heart of everyone's work ethic, if they're working on Crimewatch, that they've got to be very, very mindful of those implications and their editorial obligations as well. The best things about working on Crimewatch are you get to work in several specialist areas. So we're working factual television, we're making really well researched content that's robust and powerful. We get to make mini dramas, so people who are interested in drama as well and like to create engaging films and tell stories can thrive here. And on top of that, we get a live studio show with all the pressures and excitement that brings. So it's a great mix of all those elements, which is why people really enjoy working on the show and get a lot out of working on the show. And then on the night of transmission, I sit in a gallery, this gallery in fact, and oversee the content going out. So we're in communication with the presenters on the night. I might be guiding them as to what questions to ask, or steering them in certain ways. If there's a problem, clearly I'm here to try and troubleshoot that. So it's overseeing the whole thing, looking after the team, just everything associated really with looking after a big brand. I think for people who work on Crimewatch, they take great pride in their work and what they do, and in helping victims. They spend a long time with the victims during their interviews to reassure them, make them comfortable, and work with them through the process. But inevitably, they're exposed to some quite unpleasant details of cases. They see some pretty awful things, and to do that on a daily basis takes its toll. So we have to be very careful that people aren't too severely affected and they get time away from the programme, and there are various things we do to ensure the welfare of the staff who have to deal with some pretty unpleasant stuff. I think I've always been interested in right or wrong, and current affairs, and criminal justice is naturally a part of that. I've worked in news and current affairs for many years, from Panorama to Newsnight or Channel 4 News, even Watchdog, even in consumer journalism. You know, there's a championing of the consumer and the small man, I suppose, against big corporations. So there's a sense of kind of moral justice, I suppose, which runs through lots of things I've been fortunate enough to be involved in. I would encourage people to do work experience. I know it's routine these days, but I think it's really important. And once you've had experience of a few productions, you make yourself useful. You know, it's your opportunity to shine. Don't sit there and with your headphones on and wait for something to happen. You've got to grab the opportunity and prove yourself. And that's how people get in. And you know, everyone who's gone before you has been through that process, or many people have. So that, you know, that's the thing to do, and it's hard for people to see that it will necessarily lead somewhere. But if you're right for that sort of job and you're persistent, I'm sure you'll get in. It's really important for me that people who want to work on programs like Crimewatch care about the content and have a sense of responsibility. You're part of a team, but also you're serving the people you meet, who are in the most delicate and vulnerable state you can possibly imagine. You've got to have people who really understand the impact their programs can have. Editorially, they've got to understand what's proportionate, what's fair, what's reasonable. They've got to have a good sense of contempt law and libel, and just the ability to think about what the impact of what they're doing might be, and also the power of a program like Crimewatch. This is a program that is beamed into people's homes. That's an enormous amount of power and responsibility to have. So you've got to be diligent. You've got to be a very fastidious taker of notes. You've got to refer things as and when you should. You've got to be proactive. You've got to find stories. You've got to work well under pressure. You've got to be comfortable working to people, and just sort of mucking in. There are lots of people who join this program who, even after they leave the program, take a bit of Crimewatch with them, because that kind of sense of being on the right side of the law, helping to right wrongs, and the immense power you have, where there might be a police investigation that's stalled for a couple of years, or sometimes a cold case appeal. It might be the 10th anniversary. We might do something, and you get that one call, and you've been a part of that, and that's an amazing thing to achieve. So, if I want people on the Crimewatch team who will get a sense of achievement out of that. Well, Crimewatch is 30 years old in 2014. It started in 1984. So in the autumn, we're hoping to give the show a bit of a makeover, cosmetically, and celebrate to an extent what's been achieved over these 30 years, and obviously hope to continue for another 30 years and forevermore, hopefully.